Hello, I'm back. I'm going to read a little bit of Are You Lonesome Tonight? And so Lucy has gone into labor, and her baby is coming about 9 days after Elvis's mother passed. And she writes a letter to Elvis in case she doesn't survive childbirth, telling him about the baby and to come and get her. But anyway, she passes out, and what does she say here? Shortly after midnight, the doctor gave me some gas. A nurse said, "Miss Presley, don't pass out. You've got to push." But she must have passed out anyway. The last thing she remembers is someone saying, "It's a girl. Look at all that dark hair." And then, so remember, she is going by Presley right now because she wants the baby to have her rightful last name. So she is going by Lucy Presley. Miss Presley, wake up." I opened my eyes groggily and saw a nurse standing over my bed. It was daylight. I was in labor most of the evening and must have fallen asleep. "My baby?" "She's fine. Don't worry. We'd like to notify your husband. Where can we reach him?" "No," I said much too forcefully. "My family will do that. Thank you. Will you bring me my baby?" "The doctor said you should rest. You're very weak. You can see the baby later." "I want to see her now. I must see my baby." The nurse continued to put me off. The more she did, the more I suspected something was wrong. I became adamant. They finally brought her to me. She was so beautiful. Her hair was long, almost to her shoulders, and dark. She opened her eyes. In that brief instant where lifetime impressions are made, I could see his eyes clearly in hers. Her little face, chin, cheekbones, curled lip. She was every inch her father. How Elvis would have loved her. She was as beautiful a child as we had talked about long ago. I cried and held her in my arms. Wow. Can you imagine? She looks at her baby and she sees Elvis. Gosh, that had to be so, not satisfying. That's not the right word, but just she can have him with her, every time she looks at the baby. I tried to leave the hospital that day. They wouldn't release me. They still needed more information about the father. The nurse was a Gestapo type. Her mouth was hard and tight, and she appeared devoid of lips. What a description. Her dark hair was short. She had no breast and looked like a man. Worse, her hands were cold as ice, like a corpse. I recoiled each time she touched me. She came in, pointed to the dresser, and said, "Do you want me to mail your letter?" She looked at me strangely. "No, that won't be necessary." "Should I list Elvis Presley as the father?" she intoned. I couldn't believe the gall. "No," I shouted. "He's just a relative, a distant relative." The wicked nurse finally left. I held my baby in my arms and thought again of Elvis. I have to tell him. She's too beautiful to keep from him. The doubts returned. His life had changed. Maybe he had fallen in love with someone else. Or was he perhaps lonely? The next day, I chose her name. Our child would be Desiree Romaine Presley, though she might not know the last name for a long time. Desiree was a perfect first name. Elvis loved it. It's what he called me ever since we saw the movie in 1955. It symbolized our love and means desired one. She was conceived out of the greatest love. I chose Romaine as her middle name because I read a story once about a beautiful young girl who died just before she was to be married. Her name was Romaine. So right up here it talks about her name was Desiree Romaine Presley, though she might not know the last name for a long time. It's because she'll go by Ware. Desiree Romaine Ware, when she goes back. And so, anyway, so because she's keeping it a secret, so she's not even going to tell the daughter who the father is until she tells the father about the daughter. And so she didn't want her to know last name was Presley. Miss Coldhands came in to file the papers. She peered at me suspiciously when we got to the father's name. Without looking up from her writing, she asked again, "Any relation to Elvis Presley?" "Distantly," I said. Okay, so the doctors let her leave that afternoon. Before I do that, I'm going to go over here and show y'all the picture of the birth certificate. There's the picture of the birth certificate in here. It's very interesting. See if I can get in a little bit closer to it. So, certificate of live birth. And here it has last name Presley, first name Desiree, middle name Romaine. It's a girl. Single birth. Birth date August 24th, 1958 is what it says. So apparently she came after midnight. So she went in the hospital August 23rd. It was in Alexandria, Louisiana at Baptist Hospital. What does that say? Something about being inside the city. I don't know about that. It's in Alexandria. The mother's residence is in Alexandria. Parish Rapids, Louisiana has parishes. And there's the street address. The father's name, Randolph Presley. He was white. And she writes here that he's a civil engineer at Tinker Air Force Base in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And his birthday is December 30th. Oh, age of father, 30, December 7th, 1927. She makes up a birth date. And then her name is Lucy Barbin, is her maiden name, which is correct. And last name, she's white. And she was born in Beaumont, Texas. This is all made up. And her birthday, she puts that she's 24. And that her birth date is October 15th, 1933. So I don't know her exact birth date, but she was born in October for real. But she was born, I think, in 1937. So she's putting herself at 4 years older than what she really is. 3 or 4 years older. So she may have been born in 36. In 36. I know she was a little bit younger than Elvis, and he was born in 35. And how many other children? 3. Previous deliveries, 3. Blah, blah, blah. And here she signs her name, Ms. Lucy Barbin Presley, on August 26th, 1958. When she's getting, when she's filling out this form, it's 2 days later. There's her street address. And, the doctor and signature of attendant and the local registrar. So, anyway, that's her actual birth certificate. Okay, and here's a picture of her at 2.5, little Desiree. Isn't she cute? 2.5. And here's a picture of all the children in 1959. So that's Melody. Let me get my finger up here. Melody, little Desiree, and that is Deborah and Denise. The Melody, Desiree, Deborah, and Denise. Look at that. Cutie pie. And this thing they're in is pretty cool. So 1959. So that is a year later. So it doesn't say what month, but so Desiree was born in 58, and this is 59. Okay, back to where we are. Okay. Did I lose my place? Oh, no. Okay. Here we are. The doctors let me leave that afternoon. I bundled up Desiree and drove back to the base. Louise was so excited. She cuddled the baby and told me how beautiful she was. Louise was also happy because her husband was coming home. Remember, he was stationed in Germany. I begged her to help me find a place of my own to stay. Her husband would ask questions. "Do you have enough money?" she asked. All I had left was $80 and was behind in my car payment. I couldn't tell her that. I had to find a job as soon as possible. If I asked Mr. Durrett for help, he would never leave me alone. Remember, he's that man that was following her around. He found her. He used to watch her on the TV show. And he was a rich man, but he was like in his 60s and married. And he loved Lucy from afar. But she did not want to ask him for help. Dave Silverstein had offered to help. I called. He was beside himself. So he's the owner of Silverstein's where she used to work. "Lucy, where are you? Who are you with? Did you know how many people were trying to find you?" "I know. This one guy, John Jones, kept calling and calling." John Jones. "I told him the last we heard was that you were missing in a snowstorm. We thought you were dead. Why didn't you call me?" John Jones was Elvis. Thank God Mr. Silverstein hadn't figured that out. Or had he? He knew everything else. Elvis would use that name. He loved the name John. And I forget, Jones, there's some link to Jones why he used that name, but that was he used John Jones. "I've been through a lot," I said. "I need your help. Will you loan me $500? I'll pay you back soon, I promise." It was so humiliating having to beg. "Sure, Lucy, anything you want. But I have to know where you are and why. You're such a fool," he scolded. Begging for money was bad enough. The insult made me cry. "Are you okay, Lucy?" "I'll be all right. Please don't tell anyone where I am." "Why do you want to hide?" I answered I'd explain later. He wired the money the next day. I immediately found a gray and white colonial house, fully furnished, that was available in 2 days. I did all this running around, and Desiree was still only 4 days old. Man, can you believe that? 4 days old and doing all that stuff. And you have 3 other children. The next day, I took Desiree outside with me and told her stories about her father. "He'll love you as much as I do. You'll see. One day you'll know him." I sensed that someone was watching me. I looked up and saw Louise's husband, Vernon, which is ironic because her husband's name is Vernon and Elvis's daddy's name is Vernon. But he was staring at her from the doorway. I waved and said hello. He didn't reply, appearing distant. He was tall, 6'5", and I was always uneasy in his presence. "The baby," he said. "Who's the father?" No greeting, no hello. "I don't want to discuss it," he said. "You don't have to, I know. It's Presley, isn't it?" "Don't be ridiculous," I said, brushing past him to retreat to the bedroom. I wonder how in the world he guessed that. Vernon had arrived early, and when Louise came home, she was delighted to see him. I told her I'd move out that night. I packed my things, rounded up the children, and left. Louise called the next day and said a courier had brought a message for me. The message said that Dave Silverstein had recommended me for a job setting up a promotion at a local clothing store for Alfred Shaheen, a designer of Hawaiian clothes. I was thankful for the work and also thankful that chemise dresses were in style. No one would know I just had a baby. Unfortunately, my body did. I began feeling dizzy and started hemorrhaging. It didn't matter. I had to keep working. Golly. There were 4 children to clothe and feed, plus the $500 debt to Mr. Silverstein to repay. She did not want to be in debt to anyone, especially a man. When I showed up at the clothing store, Ginsberg's, they put me to work full-time as a sales clerk and a window dresser. That helped. My mother had moved in with me to assist with the children. I loved Desiree so much. She never left my sight. My weight quickly dropped to my normal 105 pounds because I wasn't eating much, mostly vegetable soup and Jell-O, in order to stretch the dollars. A well-dressed older gentleman came to the door of the house one night and said he was the owner. He told me his name was Walter Melson and wanted to make sure everything was satisfactory. He was an intelligent man, about 50, with a radio announcer's voice, a big smile that revealed perfect teeth, and sandy brown hair. He said he owned a television station and a radio station and asked me to drop by his office to discuss the lease. I was curious about why he wanted to meet me and asked the people at the store about him. Turns out he was a well-known playboy. Did he know about my work at KNOE? It didn't seem possible because there hadn't been that much. Still, it was too much of a coincidence. A couple of days later, I happened to be in town and decided to go to Mr. Melson's office. He was pleased to see me. "I have only a few minutes," I said, and he got right to the point. "Haven't I seen you on KNOE?" he asked. "I doubt it." Someone must have tipped him off. It was incredible how quickly my cover in Alexandria was disappearing. I nodded and changed the subject. He told me he was planning to redecorate the house, insisting that such a nice tenant deserved better. I said it wasn't necessary and left. I went outside to window shop and have a leisurely stroll in the afternoon sun. In the reflection of a store window, I noticed that a big white car had pulled up to the curb behind me. I started to walk away and heard a deep voice calling me. It was Mr. Melson. "Come on, I'll take you to your car," he beckoned. I backed away and explained that I had taken a bus. That was a mistake. Now he insisted that he take me home. He was beginning to attract attention, which made me nervous, so I finally relented. On the way home, Mr. Melson told me he was trying to promote his radio station, KALB, and wanted to sponsor a performer's concert. "I know you worked on that PM Panorama show at KNOE, he said. "Could you handle this for me? I'll pay you well." That was an offer that was hard to refuse. The extra money would help. "Now, who should we bring in?" he continued. "What about that hot rock and roll singer? What's his name? The guy in the Army." This started getting increasingly suspicious. Was he using me to try to get Elvis, or was I just paranoid? "I don't think he's available," I said without any revealing emotion. "I think it would be better to have someone like Roger Williams, the pianist, or David Whitfield, the English singer." "Maybe you're right. I'll leave it up to you." I think she was being paranoid. I don't think he was suspicious of anything. He just wanted to get some attention. I considered refusing the job, then decided to take it. Mr. Melson didn't appear to be dangerous. Things got busy after that, working on the promotion at the clothing store and taking care of the children. It was strange. Working on the promotion and at the clothing store and taking care of the children. It was strange that I ended up working for a man who owned a television station and at a clothing store, just like back in Monroe. Late at night, when the house was quiet, I'd sit and remember. A magazine had a picture of Elvis in Germany with women hanging all over him. His army duty didn't appear to be strenuous. One night, a radio station was playing his songs. I was drawn to it, even though each one made me sadder and sadder. When they got to "Loving You," the tears flowed. My mother must have heard me whimpering because she placed her hand on my shoulder and asked in French, "Ma chérie, do you really love him that much?" She held me for a long time. So her mother had figured it out. She hadn't told him, but her mother had figured it out. She never came out and said Elvis. She could have been insinuating that she loved someone that she missed, but I think she knew that it was Elvis. Fall came, and I remained active. Both the concert promotion and the store promotion were nearing completion. I decided on Roger Williams for the concert, and the tickets were selling briskly. At the store, I put a hula girl in the display window to promote Shaheen's clothes. I met the woman on the bass. Her name was Nancy Smith, and she was Hawaiian, married to a soldier. The promotion was a big success. Every time she danced, lines of people gathered out front. The men from Mobil Oil, whose office building was nearby, kept sneaking away from work and coming back to watch. We practically sold out the entire line. The following week, while changing the display window, I noticed some hustle and bustle going on at the huge Hotel Bentley across the street. The hotel was a curious structure. It was a luxurious monstrosity that took up the entire block and had large white columns at the entrance. That led to a white marble and tile lobby with a domed ceiling. The building had more than 300 rooms. It was so out of place for Alexandria, a city with a population of about 37,000 then. The locals referred to it as the Biltmore of the Bayous. I don't know if Biltmore owned it, but it's a typical big, gigantic hotel like they had back in those days. I asked someone what was going on, and he told me they were filming a John Wayne movie around town, and the crew was staying at the hotel. It made me remember a conversation I'd had with Elvis about John Wayne. He works constantly, like me. Only difference is he can grow old, and I can't. Sure you can, I told him. You'll be a brilliant businessman at 50 and still give special concerts, and you'll be the most handsome and debonair man alive. A touch of gray here and there will make you look distinguished. I love the way you talk, baby, he said. Will you still talk like that when I'm an old man? I assured him I would. Then we kissed and stretched our hands in the air. Lucy, Lucy, wake up, one of my co-workers said. Boy, whatever you were thinking about must have been nice. You were 1,000,000 miles away. I blushed, then went on with my work. A few days later, an oriental-looking man walked into the store and came directly to me. He handed me a set of keys and pointed to a brand-new snow-white Thunderbird convertible parked out front. Then he gave me an envelope and left. Everybody in the store was staring. I was petrified. Was it from Elvis? I opened the envelope. The note said, "At your disposal until the project is over, Walter." I immediately returned it to him. Mr. Melson kept sending his valet by the store to ask for dates. It was so absurd it got to be a joke. I did agree to go to a society function at the country club with him, though. I said I'd meet him there. He said the party was important for business, and even though I abhorred being his date, the kind of people who would be at the country club were the same people who would go to a Roger Williams concert. I wore a dress I had made myself. A black crepe de chine gown with 4 inches of black lace at the shoulders and neck, and more lace gathered at the calf-length hem. It was pulled off the shoulders in a Latin style. I threw on an inexpensive but acceptable set of cultured pearls. That's cool that she made her own outfit, made her own dress. It sounds really nice. Off the shoulders with the lace at the top and at the bottom. Made out of crepe de chine. Wow. It was a miserable day. A storm hit in the early afternoon and lasted into the evening. I waited in the store as long as possible. When the last person closed up, I ran across the street to the hotel. I frequently had lunch in the hotel restaurant and had subsequently made friends with the assistant manager, Sylvia Nye. The hotel was a madhouse that evening. The crew of the John Wayne movie, Horse Soldiers, was scattered about the lobby. They couldn't work because of the rain, so they had nothing to do but drink, carry on, and hang around. I walked in and was startled by a number of shrill whistles directed at me. Sylvia rescued me from a corner table away from the bar. As we left, the whistles were louder than before. It upset me so I was near tears and ran outside. I saw a taxi in front of the hotel and ran down the steps through the pouring rain and jumped in. The cab was already occupied. I apologized and was about to get out when the man in the cab reached over and said, "Hold it." He turned to the driver and said, "We can't let the lady get out in the storm." I couldn't see him, but the voice was unmistakable. A flash of lightning lit up his face for an instant and confirmed. What a way to meet the star of the movie. What a cliche, jumping in a cab in the rain. "I'm sorry, Mr. Wayne," I said, recovering from the initial shock. "I won't bother you." I tried again to leave, but he grabbed my arm a second time. "We got time, little one. With this rain, I got nothing but time. Where are you going? I told him Effie's restaurant. Well, you're in luck. That's just where we're headed. Before I could say anything, he motioned the driver to start. Are you going to meet someone there? He asked. It's a business function, I answered. As a matter of fact, so is mine, he said. I explained that my affair was a Chamber of Commerce sponsored gathering to promote business for the area. He smiled and said, Looks like we're attending the same party. I thought of the last movie I'd seen him in, Reap the Wild Wind. I enjoyed it and always admired him. He was more handsome in person than in the movies. He was dressed in a black tux and a white shirt. His eyes were kind, and he kept grinning. My flustered, wet rat appearance must have greatly amused him. Can you believe this? She is in a car with John Wayne. Wow. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. For so many things. For so many things. Some bright things of her life. After a short ride, the taxi pulled up under a brightly colored striped canopy. There was a flurry of doormen opening doors and a horde of photographers waiting to snap pictures of Mr. Wayne. I quickly shook his hand, thanked him for the lift, and slipped out the opposite door of the cab. Mr. Melson spotted me within minutes and came running over. He kissed my hand formally. Mr. Wayne noticed, wandered by, and said, Lucky man. I could have died. The evening was a stifling bore. Fortunately, Mr. Melson was playing the social butterfly and was busy socializing. I sat alone in the back at a small table near a window, playing with my food and thinking of a graceful way to sneak out. I was looking out the window, watching the raindrops roll down the glass when someone touched my arm. It was John Wayne again. You're right. It's boring. Let's get out of here. We both laughed, and I readily agreed. What better excuse than to leave with John Wayne? I felt safe with him. Who wouldn't feel safe with John Wayne? It was still raining when we walked outside. A cab pulled up immediately, and we jumped in. Mr. Wayne? Hold it, he interrupted. My friends call me Duke. If you're my friend, that's what you call me. That was difficult. I was too shy to call him by a personal nickname. Where to? He said. I answered that he could take me back to the hotel. I planned on taking another taxi home from there. He asked if I was staying in the hotel. When I told him no, he said, Driver, the lady will give you her address. I couldn't believe this was happening. You know, this is a small town, and the motel room is even smaller, he said. I thought you were staying at the hotel. Nah, I stay off by myself. I have to get some privacy. The fans and all. Hey, how about some supper tomorrow after we finish shooting? I thanked him and declined. Well, how about a drink later? I don't drink. Good, little one. He laughed, patting my hand. We were nearing my home, and I began directing the driver. My rented house looked pretty impressive from the outside, like a typical southern mansion. And here I was with only $20 in my pocket. Mr. Wayne got out and took my hand. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for letting me take you home. Meeting John Wayne made me miss Elvis more. I was broke, lonely, and confused about what to do with my life. I took comfort in my daughters. They were a welcome spark of life. Tiny Desiree was a good baby. She hardly ever cried, unlike her mother. It was almost as if she was being strong because she knew I needed help. I tried to be the perfect parent and fought to put on a happy face when my daughters were around. I dedicated my life to them, thanking God for placing the children in my care and promising that their needs would always take precedence over my own. Melody, now 7, caught me crying one day and came over and gave me a big hug. Mommy, don't be sad. I love you, and so does Jesus. That touched my heart, but it also made me worry. Was my unhappiness affecting my children? All right, so now I've got a little research here. The author goes and talks to Melody. Mother is extremely emotional and was always crying, Melody recalls today. We knew she was heartbroken over something. It was really sad. She never got over it. It was the same as long as I can remember, and it continues even now. She just couldn't get over it, and she never told us why. To this day, she hasn't told us. It wasn't hard to guess. Every time an Elvis song came on the radio or a movie came to town or he was on the television, she would look very sad and put her hand over one ear, a funny habit she always had. Then she'd walk out of the room. At first we thought that maybe his songs reminded her of someone. As we grew older, we could see it was Elvis himself. So the children figured it out. The next day at the store, my friend Max Hatter handed me a note. He said someone had called. The note read, "Since you don't eat or drink, how about just talking? Duke." I smiled and dismissed it. Mr. Wayne called in the late afternoon following up on his note. He was surprised when I made an excuse and refused his invitation. He remained polite and vowed to try again later. Max came over again a short time later and asked me to come to his area, the men's department, the first chance I got. I did about 10 minutes later and found him talking to a customer. Max saw me and rushed over. "I want you to meet a friend." I was furious. Max had promised he wouldn't do that to me. She thought he was trying to set her up. "How do you do?" I offered icily to the stranger, then turned and walked away. Max later apologized and said the man was persistent and he had no choice. So the first time she went over there, she just said, "How do you do?" and walked away. That night after work, I heard on the radio that Elvis has sent an engagement ring to a girl in Memphis. I couldn't expect him to be faithful to me, especially if he thought I had died. Still, I was shattered. His words repeated in my mind, "It's all just publicity. Always trust me." I came into work one morning and caught a glimpse of myself in the full-length store mirror. I was shocked at how dreadful I looked. The beautiful girl with the laughing eyes that Elvis knew was gone. She was replaced by a sullen stranger. One of the sales clerks, Neva, took me aside. She was a kind-hearted woman about 10 years older. "Lucy, I don't want to intrude into your personal life, but whatever it is, it can't be that bad." I thought this was going to be another one of those busybodies telling me how to live. Instead, she talked about how much she loved her husband and how he had been killed in the war. It took her a long time, but she got over it and was dating a fine man from Wales. "Time heals. You have to go on," she said. "And the best way to start is to talk to this man who keeps calling you. If you don't, I will." I asked her who the caller was, hoping she would say Mr. Jones. She said it was a Mr. Morrison. I had no idea who that was and had no desire to find out. The next morning, Neva called me to the phone. She made me answer. Is this Lucy? This is your good friend, Mr. Morrison." The man had an unpleasant voice and a deep southern accent. Whoever he was, he gave me the creeps. "Look, I have no friends here, and I really don't want to speak to you." "Wait," he said in another voice. "This is Duke, kid. I'll be in front of your place at 6:30. I need to talk to someone." Before I could protest, he hung up. I spent the rest of the day nervous about him actually showing up. I walked out of the store at 6:30 and was immediately met by a bearded stranger. I knew he was one of the movie people because just about everyone over there had a beard. It was some kind of Civil War movie. "Lucy, there's a car out front for you." "Who's in it?" "Mr. Morrison." So that's where we're going to stop because the next chapter is Fall of 58. So I think that's where we are, is Fall of 58. So we're going to start a new chapter. So do any of y'all know who Mr. Morrison is? What was I getting ready to say? Oh, So I did some research back when I was listening to this book on this movie, Horse Soldiers. And sure enough, it is a movie that John Wayne did in 1958 in Alexandria, Louisiana. So it's true. So either she weaved him into her fake story that she made up, or this is her life. And I want to believe that it is. I want to believe it's true. I feel like she's an honest woman, Lucy is, and that she is writing a true book to tell her daughter about her life with Elvis and that entire time, even when he wasn't there. So anyway, I think it's pretty fascinating. And so anyway, that's it for today. And I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you enjoyed the reading today. Bye.